The SA Health Products Regulatory Authority has registered the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after it was found to be effective. Data shows that the vaccine reduces symptomatic COVID-19 disease by 67%. The vaccine is also said to be 85% effective in preventing severe diseases. Individuals aged 18 and above can be vaccinated with it. South Africa is expecting to receive more than 30 million J&J vaccines. The first delivery is scheduled for this month. Well, let's chat now to Heidi Giokos. She's the person in the know. Heidi, good afternoon to you. And this statement being released just a short while ago, what does it say?
Yes, certainly, Yuveka. I'm just going to read parts of the statement. We understand that Johnson & Johnson, producing the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, today announced that the South African Regulatory Authority, who's the regulator when it comes to these vaccines, has granted registration with conditions of its single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, this is to prevent COVID-19 in individuals 18 years of age and older. They just got on to explain how the vaccine was studied and how the regulator came to establishing the fact that it can be registered officially in the country. So what does this actually mean, Yuveka? And it's critical for us to understand what exactly the regulator is saying. So we know that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was brought into the country on an emergency and trial study basis, which basically means that we could not bring more than 500,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines because it was brought in on an emergency basis, on a study basis. So it was still on a trial basis. They were still trying to ascertain what the vaccine was going to do, how effective it was with regards to COVID-19 and the variant that was first established here in South Africa. If one remembers correctly, when the AstraZeneca vaccine was brought into the country, we knew that it was going to go away to a lab for about 2 weeks for it to be studied and then later approved. Of course, that whole program was put on hold, and this is why government tried to get another vaccine into the country, and that's why it was brought into the country on a trial basis. But now that the regulator has approved the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in South Africa, this means that there can be a wider rollout. So many are starting to get confused with the word commercial use and commercial rollout. It doesn't mean that you now, as an individual, need to pay for the vaccine. What it means is that government is now able to roll out the vaccine program at a faster speed, which means now we will be able to bring in millions of Johnson & Johnson vaccines and inoculate as many people as the vaccination centres can, the capacity in which they can do so. So what this means is now when we get the 11 million Johnson & Johnson vaccines, or the 30 million promised that will be locally produced here, that will be allowed because the vaccine has been approved in the country for COVID-19. What's also key here is that what normally happens with approval of vaccines or any kind of medication, this is a very lengthy process. It takes about 3 months for this to actually unfold and for any medication or vaccine to be approved. But because of COVID-19 and the times that we're living in, the regulator has tried to expedite the process and make it as quickly as possible for the vaccine to be registered so that we can start inoculating.
So I know it's still early hours or minutes since we actually heard this news, Heidi, but is there a possibility now that government might just be closer to meeting those targets, which many of us were skeptical about, those vaccination targets?
Yes, certainly. And I think what government is trying to do is trying to get as many healthcare workers vaccinated and then try and move over to phase 2. We knew that deadline to inoculate over 1 million healthcare workers by the end of March, that's been now pushed back to 2 weeks. What's also key here is that the eNCA trial, which was the trial and research study that allowed for the Johnson & Johnson vaccines to be brought into the country, is most likely going to end around the 10th of April, or rather we'll be receiving the additional 200,000 doses, part of that Johnson & Johnson vaccine trial that was first established. So initially we were told that we would be getting 300,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines, but in total, on the eNCA trial, the study method, that's how we bought the vaccines in, is a total of 500,000, and we'll know we'll be getting that extra 200,000 Johnson Johnson & Johnson vaccines by mid-April. So, of course, this is very good news for government's plans to roll out more vaccines and the additional vaccination centres. We heard the President a day ago saying that we're going to have about 2,000 vaccination centres. So the fact that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been brought into the country and been approved is just going to expedite the whole process.
I think we all needed some good news ahead of the long weekend. Heidi Giokos, thank you so much, bringing us that breaking news. Johnson & Johnson, the vaccine, getting the green light from the health product regulator, paving the way for the production, as you heard, of 31 million jabs promised to us by the country.